I'm Julie Zenner, and here's what you'll see next on Almanac North. It's a big week for the Itasca Economic Development Corporation. We'll talk about the opening of its new business incubator. We'll meet some local college students who helped design a solar car that's taking them to a competition way down under. And we'll learn about the St. Louis River Alliance and the work it is doing to help clean up the river from decades of legacy pollution. Those stories and voices of the region coming up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Dennis Anderson is off this week. But let's take a look at some of the week's headlines. More than 2 million taxpayers began receiving rebate checks from the state of Minnesota this week. The one-time rebates will be paid to taxpayers who qualify, including $260 for individuals and $520 for married couples. Those who filed their taxes by direct deposit will get their payments first, and paper checks will follow in the mail by the end of September. Another step toward filling the housing gap in Duluth will be celebrated Monday. Duluth Housing and Redevelopment will hold a ribbon cutting for the Fairmont Cottage development in West Duluth. The Fairmont development has 18 units of mixed income rental housing ready for leasing. The Minnesota Department of Transportation has dropped its plan to build a roundabout on London Road at 60th Avenue East. Neighbors had objected to the roundabout, saying it was unnecessary and would make for difficult pedestrian crossings. MnDOT will still build roundabouts at 26th Avenue East and 40th Avenue East when construction begins in 2025. And the Duluth Public School District will hold its second annual Unity in Our Community event at Bayfront Park on Monday. The free event focuses on bringing families and educators together to foster a sense of connection. The event will run from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday afternoon at the Festival Park. Well, the Itasca Economic Development Corporation celebrated the opening of The Forge in Grand Rapids this week. The facility will provide space and equipment for creative folks and entrepreneurs to bring their ideas to reality, forging new businesses. Here to tell us more about The Forge is Tamara Lowney, president of the Itasca Economic Development Corporation. And thank you so much for being here, making the trip down. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Exciting times in Grand Rapids and Itasca County. For people who aren't familiar with The Forge, what's the concept and how will it work?
Well, the Forge is really unlike any other that's been out there before. It's not the true incubator. It's part incubator, part training space, and really part workforce development. We've tried to bring education, workforce development, and entrepreneurship under one roof, and that's really what we've accomplished through this building. And through all the work and effort over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So what type of entrepreneurs can really benefit the most from this space?
Well, the design of the space is a 17,000 square foot manufacturing space. Mm-hmm. So truly we're looking towards the trades. We have units that are welding units, we have CNC machines, we have saws, we have all kinds of equipment that could be used by trades. So we're looking for entrepreneurs that are creators and inspired to really develop things with their hands. So the entrepreneurs that are interested in coming to our location will be inclined to need that equipment to get their business started. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have the income to go out and buy a $20,000 piece of equipment, but you have an idea that you need to have help to get it to take shape.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that in addition to having the equipment, there are also business development resources that will be available to kind of help people take their business forward, because sometimes people have a great idea but don't know how to make it into a business.
Exactly, exactly. We deal with those people every day. They're inspiring, but it's how do I get that idea from the idea phase into action? Itasca Economic Development is also a small business development center. So we have 2 full-time SBDC or small business development consultants, and those consulting services are free. So if you come into our space, you lease a module, whether it's a small module all the way up to 1,200 square feet, you have access to those free services. a business plan development, financial analysis, maybe some feasibility studies, all of that all under one roof. And the beauty of it is we work with partners too. So once you get that idea up and going and you need to get funded, we can bring Entrepreneur Fund into the picture. We can work with the Iron Range IRRR. You know, we can really bring the state of Minnesota resources that are there for businesses right to those businesses when they're ready to lift off.
So it's an incubator of sorts. How long can businesses stay? Are there requirements in terms of, you know, the longevity of their placement in this facility? Or?
There really is. I mean, the intention is for them to grow and find their own space. So typically that's a 3-year plan. We'll have some flexibility, but it's always intended to start less than market rate, and then as the time goes by, your rate goes up slightly to help you prepare to get to your own building and your own facility. And part of that is not just the building fees, but we expect them to pay their utility fees. We expect them to have to do all the things they would do in a normal building. We want to prepare them to go out and have their own business.
How much influence have local industries had on looking at the types of equipment and the types of services that should be placed in this facility?
Oh, tremendous. So our main partner in this is Minnesota North Colleges. They will be having classes there for engineering students, welding students, and that welding need is so incredible on the range. If you think about the trades positions that continually decline, when we have been working with a company called Yanmar, once known as ASV in Grand Rapids, they're doing an incredible expansion. In the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be hiring 200 to 300 employees. Many of them are welding employees. So there's just an incredible need for us to provide that training right there. And literally Yanmar is within a quarter of a mile from our building. So they can also bring their experts and trainers over to our facility and train them right there on the site.
There was a time not that long ago that people really felt that young folks especially had to flee the region to find jobs.
Right.
Has the economy really changed so that's not the case anymore?
You know, it's a couple of things, right? It's perception. We don't know why, but for decades people were saying, you know, the only route is for you to go get a 4-year degree, and we don't want you to go into the trades. These aren't good jobs. And the reality is they're excellent jobs. They're very well-paying jobs. And so now that the societal perception is changing and people are starting to really encourage young people to take jobs in the trades again, go get training in the trades, that's really helping to motivate people to stay and have those really good jobs locally where they don't have to leave to get the training. And that's our goal. People have laughed because there's often a lot of students that go to Hibbing to do their welding training because Hibbing has an excellent welding program. Well, there are many manufacturers in Hibbing, and as soon as those students are in Hibbing, they get scooped up by those Hibbing manufacturers. And it's really our goal to help students in Grand Rapids and in Itasca County have that training there and have the jobs right there as they come out of those classes, so they don't have to leave the area. They can really stay at home and work there and develop their communities the way that they have a vision for them.
How do people find out more? I imagine there's a lot of interest, and we only have about 30 seconds. So.
Okay, so the Forge is, of course, we have a website. It is out there. It is www.itascadv.org. That's our IEDC website, and we also have the www Forge North website out there as well. But if you simply go online and you type in the Forge and Itasca County, it'll come up right away. And we really encourage you to reach out. We're welcome to groups to do tours. We would be happy to host your meeting. We want more people to be inspired by the idea. And there's so much more to learn. We have spaces for artists. We have opportunities for upskilling and training. We've really tried to bring our village together so we can lean in and really make our home one that people want to come to and stay.
All right, Tamara Lowney, sounds very exciting. I'm sure there'll be lots of people interested in the Forge.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. It's time now for Voices of the Region, when we hear from an area journalist about stories making news. Joining us this week is Chelsey Perkins, the news director at KAXE KBXE Northern Community Radio.
Last week, we learned that the strike at UPM Blandon was coming to an end after a majority of the union voted to approve an agreement that the company had put forward. They did bring in a federal mediator into the process, and that appeared to speed things along. Previously, the company and the union had met multiple times, and they were not finding agreement there. The strike did last almost a month, but now the workers are waiting for the call to go back to the mill as they develop their back to work procedures. So the company noted that the contract provides employees with industry competitive pay and benefits, and that the 3-year agreement also includes year-over-year wage increases and increases to the shift differential. It also provides benefit enhancements in areas including paid time off and health savings account contributions. I did have a chance to catch up with the union president, Jeff Ovison, and he said the strike being over is a good thing for everyone. Although he did note that the agreement narrowly passed among membership, and they didn't get everything they wanted. However, they were able to achieve some of their goals. Our reporter, Larissa Donovan, was able to travel to the Red Lake Nation as well as the White Earth Nation during the first week of legal cannabis, recreational cannabis in Minnesota. And she was able to be there as hundreds of people waited in a slow-moving line outside of Native Care, which is the official cannabis dispensary for the Red Lake Nation. What was interesting about Larissa's coverage out there is that we actually learned that there was a second cannabis dispensary on the Red Lake Nation, and it was run by David and Laura Manuel, called the Res Dispensary. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there, but they are running it out of their home. It's a much smaller dispensary, but there was no one waiting in line there. So Larissa kind of scooped other reporters on that. The other thing that we learned just a couple of days later was that the White Earth Nation was also going to be opening a recreational marijuana dispensary, and they did. And that opened on Thursday, August 3rd. Larissa also traveled out there to discuss that with the folks running the dispensary in White Earth. So we were able to be boots on the ground for a historic moment for the state of Minnesota. So Tuesday night in the city of Emily, there was a meeting that took place where a couple hundred people showed up to voice their opinions, ask questions about a potential manganese mining operation near the city. At this point, the mine is simply in the exploratory phase. However, they believe that this deposit of manganese near Emily is the richest such deposit in North America, with the idea being that we're moving towards greener and greener sources of energy. The demand for batteries is increasing, and manganese is one of the elements that is used in battery production. So therefore, they're looking much closer at this mine, the potential of whether it's economically viable. And residents who attended shared concerns, questions about water impacts, about whether the mine was going to be disruptive to the infrastructure of the city. It's a very small city, and there's not much for transportation infrastructure. There's a 2-lane road that goes through. So definitely a lot of questions for the mining officials who were present about what this may look like. Now, the mining officials themselves repeatedly emphasized the fact that it's in the very early stages, and they don't yet know if they will move forward with developing a mine here. They are still trying to gather as much information as possible to determine whether that is something that is viable. So very early on, however, they are seeking mineral rights from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and there's expected to be some decisions on that later this fall.
St. Louis River Alliance is a small Twin Ports nonprofit with a big vision to protect and restore its namesake river. Here to tell us more about the organization is Chris Eilers, Executive Director of the St. Louis River Alliance. And Chris, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe we could start by just talking in broad strokes about some of the work that your organization has been doing in the St. Louis River and the estuary.
Okay, well, we first started from being the Citizens Action Committee when the area of concern was designated by the Environmental Protection Agency back in 1987. It started with a concerned group of citizens. The EPA required a citizens' input into this huge process to clean up the legacy pollution in the estuary. And so we've been around a long time. But we kind of evolve as the river gets cleaner. These projects on the river have been underway for many, many years, and it's a huge project. We work with both Minnesota and Wisconsin, state and local government. We work with federal agencies as well. And our mission is to not just to restore, protect, and enhance the St. Louis River, but to help connect people to the river. You know, that's all really. Everything that we do in a nutshell is to connect people to the river, because we all know that, you know, a healthy river is actually reflective of a healthy community, and vice versa. It's reciprocal relationships. So we're here to help rebuild those relationships to the river.
Talk about some of the successes that you've seen in the cleanup efforts since 1987.
You know, just the enormity of the project, that the agencies had to come up with a plan. When you're working with 2 different states and many different agencies, that's a huge success in partnership for the Twin Ports. Most of the management actions are underway or 100% done. There's more to be done, but the big thing is that we're seeing a river that's cleaner. And just an example of that success is that we now have in 2020 a designated national water trail, the St. Louis River Estuary National Water Trail. And that was a huge project that was undertaken by the city of Duluth, and we have over 50 partners on that, and the Alliance is the manager for that water trail. So that is part of our work. We also have some habitat projects that we work on as well.
What are some of the greatest concerns that still need to be addressed before it can be delisted at some point as an area of concern?
Well, the management actions, like I said, are underway. Most of them are already completed or underway. There's going to be some monitoring that needs to happen. If people want more detail on that, you can go to our website. And also, we have resources on there that direct people to the state agencies who are doing those projects. But right now, there's still contaminated sediments that are being cleaned up. Munger Landing is, they're wrapping that project up. There's many other projects that are underway. There's other habitat projects that are being completed, but we're moving into the phase of the restoration phase.
You mentioned that part of your mission was to really connect people to the river. How successful do you feel that effort has been, particularly in engaging young people who are that next generation coming up who are going to inherit this river and will be the stewards of it?
Well, in the past, we've worked a lot within the schools to do outreach, and that is really important, because then those kids go home and they talk to their parents. And there's generations that have been cut off from the river, and that's why in this last year we did 6 different community river neighborhood gatherings to find out from people what they wanted to do on the river and what has kept them from doing that. And now for the next 4 years, we're going to be having 4 events per year to connect especially river neighborhood people to the river, because they've been historically cut off by pollution and industry. And there's also a lot of monetary resources that are pretty slim in some of the neighborhoods there. So we really want to give people an opportunity to connect with the river, and that will help create stewards in the years to come. And that also helps with, you know, connecting children to the river as well.
Enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm. Why are you personally passionate about the river?
You know, when I was younger and my family used to travel up from River Falls, Wisconsin to go up the North Shore, I did see the pollution that was happening in the 70s, and I didn't even know that that was the river. I thought it was part of the lake that I was seeing, and it never, that image never left my mind. And over the years, that just really instilled this passion to help protect our water and our lakes. And I grew up in the 70s and during the first Earth Day, and the big push for, let's clean up our rivers when they were actually going on fire. And so I just followed my heart and I wound up in Duluth, and I'm doing exactly that. So.
All right. Well, Chris Eilers, St. Louis River Alliance, thank you so much for coming in, sharing your passion and sharing the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it. 2 students from the Northland will soon be traveling to Australia to race a solar car their team has built. Producer Megan McGarvey and videographer Isaac Quick traveled to the University of Minnesota to find out more about the students' project.
The Solar Vehicle Project, it's a student group where we completely design, build, and race a solar-powered car just completely by students. We finance everything ourselves. We do all the research and just figure everything out ourselves. And on one hand, it's extremely difficult and frustrating, but on the other hand, it's just so rewarding. The solar racing as a whole, I believe, has been going on for at least 30 plus years. It actually began in Australia with the World Solar Challenge. And that is a race from the very top coast of Australia all the way to the bottom coast. It's right through the outback. Different countries around the world have decided to take up the race as well. So there's one in America as well. And those are the 2 main races that we compete in, is the World Solar Challenge and the American Solar Challenge.
You never really get to a point where you're like, the car is race ready. It's more so that it's time to race. So you want to get in as much test driving as possible, and we were really lucky and glad to be able to test drive Gaia before shipping her to Australia. She's currently on a boat, but EOS 2, the first time that it went to Australia, was not finished, and the second time we had to build a battery pack in Australia to put in the car. So EOS 2, when it raced in Australia, had not been extensively test drove, and we have gotten quite a few test drives on Gaia in its full build, no battery packs being built in Australia. So we're feeling really proud of that, and we're looking to test drive even more in Australia before the race.
On the car that we've just finished building, I've built and designed the chassis, door hinges, ducts, and lights, and rims for the car. So I love just working with physical objects. It's much easier to work with when I can actually see it. I give a lot of praise to electrical people because they just do it all in their minds, and that's amazing. But that's mainly what I've been involved with in the car, and also just actually making just various different things throughout the car and providing feedback on various things as well.
The logo that you see on my shirt is a motor stator. The stator is the part of the motor that doesn't move, it stays stationary. The reason that our logo is a motor stator is because we are one of the only teams, if not actually the only team in the United States, to design and manufacture our own motors. Everyone tends to buy them off the shelf, but we make our own for the learning experience, and it's something that we're really proud of on our team. We try to do a lot of STEM outreach to elementary school, middle school, and high school age kids. We actually have a member on the team right now who's super involved, and we're super grateful to have her, who joined the team because we visited her middle school many years back, and she was really drawn in by a solar car and decided to join. So it's things like that that are really validating, really gratifying to know that we're out there inspiring youth and getting people excited about engineering. I think it's incredibly important for engineering students to get hands-on experience with engineering. There's so much that we learn in a classroom, and all that's really important, but it's a way different challenge to actually apply those fundamentals and what you're learning in class to real hands-on work. I've learned so much more from solar car than I could ever learn in the classroom.
So our hopes for this next car is we really just want to finish the race, because finishing the race is extremely difficult. Most teams who attempt this with the multiple occupant class, so 2 or more, most don't finish the race. And so just being able to build a car that does that, usually you end up on the podium because of that. So that is our big hope for this next car. And we're pushing a lot of things. It's more aerodynamic than any other car that we've made, and we're trying just so many different new things with it. And then hopefully we can take what we learned in the past and apply that to the next car that we'll build.
It's one thing to get to go, and it's another thing to get to go and see something that you physically built with your own hands, drive along the Stewart Highway. So I'm definitely really excited to just get to watch the car drive, as well as spending all the time with the race crew there.
And before we go, I want to remind you that we are in our August membership drive, where you have a chance to support what happens here at PBS North. Public media allows us to create programs that are educational, entertaining, and engaging. And like this show, we get to take an in-depth look at what's happening in our communities. When you tune in to PBS North, you're watching shows that are selected with this community in mind. And these shows are made possible through support by you. So please make a call of support right now at 218-788-2844, donate at pbsnorth.org, or use your mobile device and scan the code on your screen to make your contribution. And if you make a donation right now, we have some great ways to say thank you.
When you make a sustaining contribution of $10 a month or $120 at once, we'd like to thank you with a Roku Express streaming device. This incredible device gives you access to hundreds of free channels and all your favorite apps, including the PBS and PBS Kids app. It's compact and power-packed, so fast, high-definition streaming is made easy. There's no monthly equipment fee or contracts, and setup is easy. Simply plug the device in, connect it to the internet, and start watching. That's it. And of course, you'll have access to watch thousands of hours of your favorite PBS programs on Passport. Or when you make a sustaining contribution of $15 a month or a single gift of $180, we will thank you with a 1-year digital subscription to the New York Times. Enjoy unlimited, anytime, anywhere access to all New York Times content, including breaking news, politics, food, travel, and so much more. Plus, your subscription can be accessed on any smartphone or tablet with the NY Times app, or on any laptop or computer web browser. And if you can't choose between the two, make a gift of $20 a month or a one-time contribution of $240. And we'll thank you with both the Roku Express and the New York Times digital subscription. Whichever amount you choose and whichever thank you gift you select, the most important part is that you make your donation to ensure that PBS and PBS North remain strong in the days and months ahead. Do your part by calling 218-788-2844 or by giving online at pbsnorth.org.
And thank you for supporting PBS North. It truly makes a difference, and it's really appreciated. For the crew here at PBS North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.